Hello. It's 4:20. Let's get high. Okay. All right. Here's the deal. Somebody asked me a very important question, which at a very, I guess, important time to answer it. And what is the time? So the time is the beginning of the third week of the 7 weeks that we count between between Passover, the beginning of Passover, and Shavuot, 50 days in the future. And each week corresponds to one of the 7 midot, measurements, like in music. And the first one is kind of like a vibration, and the first one is the vibration of kindness. You could kind of hear like a kind tone. Or, severity, that was last week, and that's kind of a harsh tone. And this week is called Tiferet, which is beauty and truth, and is the place of God's name Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Bonds in the human body to the torso, and the thing about Tiferet is that it's made from Chesed and Gevurah, from kindness and severity, and together you put them together and you get Tiferet, which is mercy. And what's the difference between kindness and mercy? So kindness we just do naturally, like you'd give to a baby, a mother suckling a child, like that's the quintessential metaphor of kindness. Milk from the mother's breast, a famous book, John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath. So in the end, this woman, she gives birth to a baby, but loses the baby. They're migrants from Oklahoma, and they're in California, having been brought there by promises that were lies. The lie continues, and we're having a really hard time. And at the end, she loses the child, and they discover this old man who is withering away. And the end of the book is she nurses this old man, and to show like the compassion of the human being, even they've been lied to and trampled on and had a really hard life. You can't, because compassion, this is the greatest human expression. And even animals, they have compassion. And when a person doesn't have compassion, you're really like, worse than the animal. I was once, when I was on the road, and I was sitting in my van just looking out, and suddenly this hawk came down like and just lit right in front of me, in the ground right in front of me. And I didn't move. And when I looked closely, I saw that it had a mouse in its grasp. And it kept looking down at the mouse and looking down at the mouse, and until at one point the mouse was dead. And then it took off. And it was a kind of compassion to let the animal die, sort of, just stunned. Expression of compassion is a very thing, and it's interesting that the sign of compassion is the nipple. And that's why men have nipples. Otherwise, why do men need nipples? I mean, they don't have a mammary gland. They can't suckle a baby. Why do they have nipples? Because a man without nipples would be like a man in the compassion of man and the compassion of woman. The woman has far more compassion than man does. And that's the whole idea of the breast capped by the nipple. And so the idea is that kindness you can always give, because kindness is kind of a free thing. Here it is, kindness. But after a person has been judged not to be, really worthy of kindness, so therefore it takes compassion to forgive this person. And when a person does something wrong, they need to seek forgiveness, either from the person they wronged. If they stole from someone, then they have to repay the debt. If the person is no longer there, they have to repay it, maybe to charity, they give more than what they stole. There's ways to be able to deal with this, to be if you can't ask the person to forgive you. And anyways, if you can't ask, so you can do something like that. Or if a person does something wrong between them and God, and this is, like if a person, certainly, a person takes an oath before God and then breaks the oath. So that's a really severe thing, and certainly only God can forgive you. God can't forgive a person for harming another person. The person has to forgive for that. So the question was, after all this, the question is, how does one forgive themselves? It's a very good question. How do we forgive ourselves? Other people can forgive us, God can forgive us, but it's hard to forgive ourselves. And the answer is simple. We're not supposed to. See, there's an expression, forgive and forget. And that doesn't fix anything. That kind of leaves us I have a sign here saying I'm unstable. All right. The thing is, if we really want to sort of honor whatever incident it was, and it could be a small incident, it could be a big incident. I've had many incidents in my life, many things. And what does a person do? What is the right action to take? Is to remember, not to forget. We need to remember what we did so we won't do it again. And, even more than that, that what we did wrong could actually inspire us to do right. And in that way, the thing we did wrong, and maybe even the person that we wronged, or even God if we wronged, that we can make it right by that thing being an inspiration for our actions in the future. Like if, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different examples of this. That we go back to stealing. If someone stole something and maybe was never caught, but realized they did something wrong, they shouldn't have done this. So what was the thing to do? So the first thing to do is called Sur Merav Osetov. Stop doing the wrong thing and start doing the right thing. You know, for example, if a person drinks and goes out in their car and hurts somebody, so the first thing is to stop drinking. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make some sort of to repay the person, the car. Maybe someone, God forbid, died or was crippled. I mean, how can one repay such a thing? And we're not supposed to go around being guilty, because that doesn't do good for anybody. What we're supposed to do is use it for good. Let it propel us into the future to become a better human being, to become a more responsible human being, to recognize that we have defects, and we have to watch out for those defects, that if we enter into a certain realm, we're just going to be taken over because we have this defect. That's how a drug addict or an alcoholic has to deal with their defect, that they are, they can abuse drugs or alcohol. They have an addictive personality. So this person can never, it's always a test for them. Every minute of the day, they have that urge to take a drink, to take a shot, whatever it is. And that becomes their battle in life. And so if, as a result, that someone hurts somebody, that and as a result, let's say, of drinking or taking drugs, and so this can propel the person in life to go out there and seek a remedy of forgiveness by doing good. And a person can actually do so much good that is motivated by the bad they did, that they turn the bad into good. And this is considered, in heaven, a huge thing, a really high thing. Because to do bad, I mean, like we all do bad because we're imperfect. And because we're imperfect, we do wrong. And God wants us to do wrong. Why? Because this world is called tikkun, which means fixing. That we're all here to fix the earth. The way society is kind of arranged is like we're all here just to work, to make, the corporation work, the society work. But the truth is, we're here to fix the world. And we all have a different way of fixing the world. Some of us can be in a corporation and help to fix the world. Some of us can be wandering the streets and help to fix the world, even just picking up some garbage and putting it in something. Everything helps to fix the world. And everyone needs respect for that, because we all can't do all the jobs. And we find the job that we love and we do it. And that's being free. And the things that motivate us generally in life are the things we did wrong. People who are motivated just by, they want the good in life. Oh, I can get this, I can get that. They want the good. That's not really the true motivation, because you get these things and they're not very satisfying, because the desire is a spiritual desire, and you can't fill the spiritual desire with a physical substance. Whether it's alcohol or drugs or money, whatever it is, the desire is spiritual. What do we want? What does the soul trying to bang into the body, into the brain of the body, what we want? We want to acknowledge that, the Creator created this and we're here to fix the world. And we could get up every morning and say, another day to fix the world. No matter what our situation is, we are somewhere in this world. And we are here to make a difference every day, whether it's a little difference or a big difference. It's this is what we're here to do. This is what we will be called upon to give I can't think of the word I want, but to give uh, uh, oh shit. Acknowledge, it's not acknowledgement, it's not really the word I want, but we go to heaven, we have to tell them what we did, we have to justify our actions in this world. Being a writer, you can just stop and let the word come to you. You do this live, you can't really do that. Anyways, so really, I think the answer to the question is, how do we forgive ourselves? We don't forgive ourselves. We in our lives to do good. There I am being unstable again. So people off, they should do the other way. And they say, here, let me give you an extra buck, for your trouble or whatever, and this is a way to fix one's karma. There's, I keep thinking about it. There's no good word in Hebrew for karma that I've found. I mean, other than ilva, which means sort of cause and effect. If you do something, it's going to come back to you, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And God is really into justice, and everything in creation wants justice. And therefore everything will become rectified in the end, and there's no way to get around it, whether it's in this lifetime or in another lifetime. Before we go to bed at night, the prayer that we say before sleep is to ask God to forgive us for anything that we did in this incarnation or any other incarnation, meaning karma. Incarnation in Hebrew is Gilgalim. It means a circle, and that's what life is. From birth to death is half the circle. Then you go up into heaven, and then you come back, and now you have a whole circle, just like night and day, man and woman. Everything has its opposite, and certainly being in the physical world has its opposite in the spiritual world. And so you can't get away from everything. So forgetting it is the worst thing to do, because then something's going to happen. You're going to go, hey, why did that happen to me? It happened to you because you forgot. You forget about your responsibility in this world. And a lot of times responsibility comes because we did something wrong, and now we have to right it, and that becomes responsibility. And that takes us, on our path in life. And that's a good kind of path to follow, because that's a path with a heart. That's a path that God is on that path with you. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's very, very difficult. But, if we have our right intention, and what's the best intention? I'm going with God. God has shown me this path, and I'm walking this path, because maybe this is going to help me fix what I have erred in the past, whether it was mission, I don't know, I'm trying to say something, omission, demission, whether we did it on, whether we did something that we shouldn't have done, or whether we didn't do something that we should have done. You can't go back in time and fix that up. You just can't do it, because that was an experience, and out of that we know ourselves, and other people know us. Whether we did good or bad, that's a good dude or that's a bad dude because of what we did. And what we do in the world has a mouth, it speaks. And that's what we're speaking on ourselves. This is who we are. And we shouldn't forget, the bad or the good. We should remember it. We should take stock of ourselves and who we are, in a good way, in a bad way. We all have bad and good. And we struggle with the bad, and we struggle with the good. We struggle not to do bad, and we struggle to do good. And life's a struggle. That's what life is. Life is supposed to be a struggle. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to suck. I mean, we all have our different struggles in life, and they're there, to help us become strong. And it's interesting in the study of Torah that it's not how much Torah we learn that is what fulfills the commandment of studying Torah, but rather how much yigia, how much energy and struggle we had in learning the Torah. if we really struggled with the Torah, actually what the word Yisrael, Israel means ones who struggle with God. And that's what we do. We struggle with God. God tells us this and we struggle with it. In the end, we admit God is right because we are Yehudim, Jewish. That's what it means. Yehudi means to admit. And eventually we admit. We struggle, but we admit. And then we go on and we admit and we remember and we try to be better people and to be a better person and to be a more righteous person. And it's the failures that really are, I think more than the successes, it's the failures that really sort of point us in life. Because some failures show us, hey man, don't do that. That's not you. And some failures are, that's you, but you failed. And there's something wrong with you that now you have to fix yourself so you can do this thing that you were brought into the world to do. And no one, we can all give advice to one another, but each person knows themselves and know themselves in relationship to God, because that's what we're here to do. And who is God? So God is Borei Olam, creator of the world. And the creator of the world creates the world moment by moment. That's how movement occurs. That one moment the atom is here, and another moment all the atoms in creation have shifted one little bit. And that's where the continuity of creation is found. And you see that in the sine wave that's constantly going through the line of zero. So it's positive and negative. What divides that is the zero. In the zero, creation turns into nothing and gives God then the chance to create the next half wave and to move all of creation. So even though it boggles the mind how big creation is, and creation we see with telescopes, it's big, it's enormous. And there are probably more stars in creation maybe than there are in atoms in this world. And God moves them all. Nothing moves without the hand of God. And therefore, see, God is there all the time to everybody and everywhere. And particularly the earth, because the earth is the lowest place in creation. So when God, I recently read this in the Zohar, that when God commanded the water at the beginning of creation to seek a depth, this is a real miraculous thing, to seek a depth, because the nature of the four elements, earth is to go down, and water is to cover, and air is above that, and fire is above that. And that's how things were until God said, seek a depth. As a result, water freezes on the surface instead of in the center. Everything else freezes from the center out. Water freezes from the surface in, which is allow, fish to live, which is a wonderful thing. And so when God said, for the water, it said all the water, obviously not all because they find remnants of water throughout creation, but all the water from the stars to the planets all funneled down to the earth. And that's how we got water on the earth, which I think is pretty cool. How are we doing? We got 5 more. Please, if you wish to ask a question, that makes life more exciting. They say without a teaching without questions, you wonder if anyone learned anything. If people don't ask, then people don't learn. So if you have a question, please ask it. And so anyways, I hope this helps with the question of how do we forgive ourselves. Ultimately, God forgives us. And it says in the end that the things, there's 3 levels of wrong. One is when we just made a mistake. Thought this was it. You made a mistake. You really didn't do anything wrong. You just made a mistake. You made some karmic thing or something. And then it's like uh, that you really did something wrong, but you really didn't mean to do it. I mean, you did it, but you didn't mean to do it. I mean, it's sort of like if you walked into a store and was looking at something and forgot and stuck it in your pocket and walked out. Well, you did something wrong. But you didn't really mean to do it, you just didn't think about it. And you go back in and return and say, I did this by mistake, whatever. And then there's the person who does it wrong purposely. Purposely, this person went into a store and took something, stuck it in his pocket, and stole. And it says, even though the person did it purposely, that in the end, God will make it that it was an accident. Because truthfully, even when we do something on purpose, it's really an accident because we don't really understand what's going on in the world. And we're in such a dark world that even what we do purposely is just a mistake because we don't have enough light. So it's the purpose of the Jewish people is to be light into the nations and to explain to the nations what the truth of reality is so you can get beyond religion, get beyond spirituality, and to deal directly with the creator, Bore, who is creating creation just moment by moment and loving creation and wanting to be known in low. That's the whole reason for creation. God had a desire to be known in low. Yes. So someone asked, how's the best way to contact me? You want to contact me? Well, I think the best way, frankly, I check the most is my email, which is dovidhouse@gmail. And or you can write on this platform, or my website, dovidhouse.com. I'm happy to be in contact with people. I'm not so busy. And you get to a certain age in life that all you really want to do is give, because you don't have so much life left that you want to take a lot. What are you going to do with it? But you really won't want to give, because in a sense that's kind of like what elders are supposed to do. They get to the other side of life, and you want to be able to give. We want to be able to leave this world feeling that we made a difference in this world, and certainly to give what one has learned. It's a simple thing to do. Anyways, okay, so let me say this last thing, that my website is dovidhouse.com, and thank you who've ever been buying my books. I've sold a couple of books over the last week or so, which is really a change from selling no books, and I'm very thankful. My latest book is called Sex, a Metaphor to History, Trump 777, and the 1,000 Years of Woman. And I just want to say that I've finished a new book, which I'm hoping to bring out later, this summer, and something I'm so just excited about. So I'm really trying to build up sort of an audience of people who can appreciate this work and maybe can help me to get it out into the world, because I think that these ideas are very much needed in the world. And thank you for tuning in and listening to me and being involved in this. And it's a holy thing to do, and maybe together we'll fix the world. See you tomorrow at 4:20. Thank you again. Stay high, man.